Someone's in Greece. People from all over the country. California, Philadelphia. That's wonderful. Raleigh, North Carolina. Hi, Raleigh. Okay, so. Ready to go, Issa?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Okay, just hold on one second. So I'm going to show a few slides. So welcome, everyone. We're so delighted to see you all. I want to share a few slides with you to introduce our speaker, Issa Amro. So Issa is a prominent Palestinian human rights activist, and he's founder of the organization Youth Against Settlements. And that's a picture of him at Shuhada Street. I have another picture of that in a second. So the mission of Youth Against Settlements is to promote the use of nonviolent resistance against the Israeli occupation. And Issa coordinated the Shooting Back project, which means shooting with a camera, which gave cameras to the Palestinians so they could document the human rights violations by Israeli soldiers and settlers. And he was awarded the One World Media Award for that project. Don't know if you saw this article in the New York Times on May 1st about showcasing Issa. Where is the Palestinian Gandhi? And as you see here, he's been arrested and beaten many, many times, which he may tell us about, in trying to pursue nonviolent resistance in the West Bank. This is Issa at the Shuhada Street, which had been closed by the Israeli administration, and he led this protest to open it. Then I want to show just a few clips. So this is a video of the soldiers sort of attacking Issa and dragging him away, or leading him away. I think I have to stop this share in order to get there.
Hey! Leave him!
I want an ambulance. I don't do.
What's the matter with you, guy? Are you so bored? I did delete the video.
You are not allowed. He's not allowed to ask you to delete the video. We'll go to insult and fight complaint against him.
Hey! Stop that!
I see there is a huge escalation.
And I think that's happened to you many times, Issa, right?
Yes, right. To me and to many other Palestinians.
Yes, of course. Yes, right. Then I have another one here. This is about the Shooting Back project, the camera project. This is a short clip also.
Tell me, how did you come up with this program, Shooting Back?
I بتسلم vision or the idea that we are trying to create. We're trying to bring stories from the West Bank, from human rights violations to the media, to advocate for the improvement of human rights. And one day, me and Karim were driving here, and Karim told me, like, this family here, they've got to have a camera because they're getting so much hassle here, because they're just, a few meters from the settlement, and they're getting so much problems, and the stones been thrown on them, and they cannot walk on the street. They have no proof. They don't have to prove, because everybody's saying, no, it's not possible, it's not happening, and nobody saw it. And then we gave a camera to the family here, taught them how to film with the camera. Very simple digital camera. It's not that expensive anymore. You know, you can give them away. You don't have to be professional. You're getting a good shot. We give the children the camera and told them, just shoot your life. Just shoot what's happening with you, you know? And then once in a while we come here and see what they're shooting, and we get a massive footage documenting what's happening with them. One of the famous one was a clip, that 1 minute clip that a girl from the family, she's 16, was filming when settlers from here tried to lock her in the room here. She's coming here and tried to close the door and shouted at her that she's a whore, she's a whore.
So I think you get the idea. Many of us, how many of you had seen that video before? Yeah. Right. Okay. Then just a few more slides. This is the data. This was correct as of 2 weeks ago. Since October 7th, almost 500 Palestinians have been killed in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem. And over 1,500 Palestinians have been displaced from Area C in the West Bank. And 14 Palestinian prisoners have died in Israeli jails. This is a picture of the settlers setting fire to olive trees and agricultural crops in this village north of Ramallah. I think you all know there's been increased settler violence, and this is a picture of the settlers burning a Palestinian village to the ground. I might show this one just for 30 seconds so that you can see where the settlers are setting fire to a car and the soldiers are standing by doing nothing. And this will be the last one. Watch on the street. You can see the soldiers on the street and you'll see that they do nothing to intervene. So I think you get the idea, right? Hold on 1 second. Just 1 second. So, Issa, welcome to MAPA. We are so delighted to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So you live in Hebron, in Tel Rumeda, right? Near
Yes, I live in Hebron in Tel Rumeda.
Yeah, which is one of the heaviest, most heavily militarized places in the West Bank. You've been arrested and beaten any number of times. You've been shot in your legs. Soldiers have evicted you from your house a few times, and you were detained on October 7th. Can you tell us what happened, what has happened to you?
What happened to me is happening to the majority of the Palestinians. We are stateless. We live under the Israeli military occupation. We live without basic rights. We don't have justice. We don't have equality. We don't have basic rights. And the Israeli occupation is controlling all aspects of our life. They are controlling the West Bank. They are controlling the quantity of water we use, we consume, and we drink. They control the quantity of electricity we consume. They control the borders. They control import. They control export. So they control everything. The occupation is the master from the river to the sea. This is the situation in the West Bank. And it was really very hard days since very long time. We in the last few years we experienced a lot of violence from the Israeli settlers and from the Israeli soldiers, and the violence and the aggression and apartheid. We saw it clearly after the the new government of Smotrich, Itamar Ben-Gvir, and Netanyahu was formed last November 2022. Smotrich is very far right-wing Israeli leader. Itamar Ben-Gvir is from Hebron. He was one of the supporters of Meir Kahane Kach movement, which was outlawed in the United States and just removed from the State Department terrorist list in 2022. So after December 2022, we experienced new types of violence of settlers and soldiers toward Palestinians in the West Bank. So we can say that many pogroms against Palestinians happened to us in the West Bank, and for the first time, the foreign observers and the United Nations started using the term settlers terrorism, Jewish terrorism toward Palestinians. These new terms were used to report what's going on in the West Bank. We also what happened in Hawara. We also what happened in Hebron. We also what happened in South Mount Hebron, and many other Palestinian villages were attacked by hundreds and thousands of settlers, and they killed Palestinians. They killed innocent Palestinians. All this settler violence is happening without accountability, without any kind of compensation to the Palestinians. So settler violence is supported by Israeli politicians. We heard Smotrich, who is the Israeli finance minister and the Israeli minister in the Israeli Defense Ministry responsible about the West Bank. We heard him saying we should burn Hawara, a Palestinian village near Nablus. A minister, we heard Itamar Ben-Gvir, the Israeli National Security Minister. Itamar Ben-Gvir was not allowed to be in the Israeli military, to join the Israeli. They dismissed him from the service in the Israeli military because of his violence, because of his crazy fascist attitude. And now this person who was denied to join the Israeli army service is the Israeli National Security Minister. Imagine that how Israel moved to become a fascist state. And those ministers with Netanyahu, they are working to make the life of the Palestinians in the West Bank, especially in the West Bank and in Area C, harder and harder to force us to leave our houses and our communities and our land, to annex it without us as Palestinians to Israel. This is their plan, to annex West Bank to Israel. So Israel will be from the river to the sea without the Palestinians. This is their plan. This is what they talk about. This is what they express to their supporters openly without hiding it. So we are suffering from violence, aggression, no services, and no feeling of safety. We don't feel secure in our houses. Just yesterday, Israeli settlers uprooted my new planted lemon tree. They uprooted the tree and they stole it. And I saw them doing it. I followed them. I told the soldier, look, they're stealing my lemon tree. And the soldier didn't care. He saw them stealing my lemon tree and went into the settlement Jewish in Shabbat. I told him it's Shabbat. He told me it's not yet Shabbat. So it's okay to do it if it's not yet Shabbat yesterday. Something else very, very important. Since October 7th, in the West Bank, no travel is allowed. So from West Bank cities, villages, it's all isolated, fragmented. So Palestinians don't have geographical continuity. Something else very important, settler violence. It's almost every day. These days, the trend is to attack the lorries which carrying food to West Bank and to Gaza. They attack the lorries in front of the soldiers. They burn the goods. They burn the food. They attack the drivers. They burn the lorries. They burn the trucks without any accountability. And we don't see anyone in the world saying, what are you doing? How come those thugs, those settlers, those Tourists are not accountable. They are not allowed. How come they are not blacklisted? How come they are not punished? And unfortunately, many of them are with double citizenship, and many of them are American. Something else, arrest around 8,000, more than 8,000 Palestinians from the West Bank were arrested or detained since October 7th. Normal Palestinians. Many friends of mine were detained. They are in administrative detention. We have around 3,500, more than 3,500 Palestinians are in administrative detention. What is administrative detention? You are in jail and you don't know why. It's not only that you are in jail these days. You don't get enough calories now. They give them 1,000 calories per prisoner. Beaten, tortured, are not allowed to shave their beards. They are not allowed to cut their hair. There is no gathering. They torture the Palestinian prisoners. They don't follow the international agreement of treating prisoners and hostages. It's Israel. I'm not talking about other groups. It's Israeli state, which is part of the UN, part of the international law, a friend of many countries. And the Palestinians who were killed, the prisoners you talked about, they were killed, not died. They were killed because of the torture and because of the lack of treatment and the lack of food. Imagine that starvation in the Palestine, for the Palestinian prisoners in the Israeli jails, because who's responsible about them is Itamar Ben-Gvir. Itamar Ben-Gvir, you know who's Itamar Ben-Gvir. Something else very important. If no work, no jobs. Palestinian workers are not allowed to work in Israel anymore. Something else, Palestinian employees. The main two employers is the Palestinian Authority, and the second is the Israeli market. So Palestinians work in the Israeli market because Israel controls our economy. Both employers don't have money because the PA doesn't get the taxation money from Israel, because Israel collects the taxation because they control the borders, so they collect the taxes and they get a percent and they give the rest to the Palestinian Authority. They don't give the taxation to the Palestinian Authority, so the Palestinian employees don't have money, salaries, since very long time.
Yeah, Issa, just explain for a minute what you meant by the Israeli market, because does that mean that they enter Israel to work in the market, or this is in the West Bank?
It's to work in Israel, to get permits to work inside the Israeli labor market. And even in the West Bank, this is the third problem, which is that there is no production in the West Bank because there is no enough raw materials and no way to import or export for Palestinians, because Israel controls the borders. We don't have free borders to import nor to export. So private sector in Palestine is really failing down. The Palestinian Authority employees don't get salaries, and Israeli labor market is closed for the Palestinians. So really people are starving, even in the West Bank. I'm not talking about Gaza. In Hebron, I want to talk about my personal experience since October 7th. On October 7th, I was kidnapped and detained by Israeli soldiers and settlers outside my house, here, outside this place. I was handcuffed with plastic cuffs, and they tied it to the point that it went into my skin. As many people in Gaza now, when they detain them, the majority of them are innocent who are detained by the Israeli military in Gaza. So, and they kept me for 10 hours. So I almost lost my hands because of the blood didn't reach the hand and the fingers. It was so painful. They gagged me and they blindfolded me. And they blindfolded me the way that it was so tight, I get a headache. And I was gagged strongly. Then hit, slapped, kicked, spat at, sexually assaulted by the soldiers. 10 hours of torture for being a human rights defender. 10 hours of torture for being a human rights defender. I was not a suspect of supporting any political group, because the Israeli military and the Israeli settlers, who are my neighbors, who are the ones who kidnapped, they know me since 20 years. They know what are my politics, that I am a Palestinian human rights defender. I believe only in nonviolence resistance, and not only me, I try to recruit more Palestinians to join nonviolence resistance. But they don't care. All the Palestinians are their enemies. And something else very important, nonviolence resistance under the Israeli military occupation is not allowed. It's illegal. You will be put in jail from 1 year to 10 years in jail for practicing nonviolent resistance. Me personally, I was arrested many times. I was detained. I was indicted in the military court, and I was convicted. One of the charges was from 2013. I was working with Obama and Martin Luther King mask, marching in the street to bring the attention to Obama when he came to Palestine in Israel, 2013. That was, I was convicted in 2 charges for a protest like that, which you do in the state almost every week. It's illegal here under the Israeli military occupation. You will be detained, killed, tortured, indicted, charged, you pay fines, just for trying to practice nonviolent resistance. So I was kidnapped, I was beaten, I was tortured, I was traumatized, I fainted 2 times, and they didn't care. I pleased them, I begged them to stop torturing me. They didn't care, and they were rejoicing my torture, filming, taking selfies, sending it to their friends, settlers, kids and women. They came to the military base and celebrated me being in that situation. Then I was released to my house, kept in the house for 1 week without food and without medical treatment. And it was curfew here, and nobody was allowed. Now my house is completely fenced. I fenced everything to protect myself from the Israeli settlers. Then October 20th, I was evicted physically from my house for 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks, 16 days. Why? Because I had journalists in my house who came to ask about me and to ask about settler violence. And he was Australian journalist with GPO card, which means that he was allowed to be in the area, and he was allowed even to be in the war zone with a GPO card. It's an official Israeli foreign ministry card. They give it to foreign media that they are allowed everywhere. But I was expelled from the house for 16 days, and my house was used as a military post for 16 days, and they damaged all my signs. They damaged my kitchen, my cameras, my alarm system. They damaged anything they could damage. And I had 3 kittens, and unfortunately, the 3 kittens were passed away because the soldiers didn't feed them even.
Oh.
And from that time, I was attacked many times, and now we have restrictions in H2 in Hebron, and checkpoints are open with certain hours. It was in the beginning 1 hour per day. Now it's 12 hours a day, so it's more. But people feel scared, and the people are really in a very bad situation. They are afraid, they are terrified, they are scared. 1,000 Palestinian families live here in this area in H2 in Hebron, are not allowed to have visitors. You know what it means, visitors? Your sons, your daughters who don't live with you are not allowed to come visit you or take care of you. You are a grandmother, you are a mother-in-law. You are not allowed to come to your daughter or your son's house to get to see your grandsons or to take care of them. No doctors are allowed, no services, no media. So the people are stuck alone since October 7th without any coverage about what's going on here in this part of Hebron. The same with Area C. South Mount Hebron, settlers attack Palestinians every day, every night. They attack the homes. I just published a video, and it got a huge attention that 4 settlers broke into a Palestinian house to the yard, and they sat, they smoked, they threatened and intimidated the family, then they left. They acted as if it's their home without being even afraid of the family calling the Israeli police or documenting them. Why? Because there is no accountability, there is impunity, and there is support from the Israeli government, from the Israeli media, and from the Israeli public. So the people who are living in the West Bank are really in a very bad situation. But we are not only victims, we are not only suffering. We try to resist, we try to document, we try to expose, we try to sacrifice in order to make the occupation costly for the occupiers and try to say that it's apartheid. Why it's apartheid is something very important. Simple. I am, as a Palestinian, Issa, living here, I am under the Israeli military law, which means I have no basic rights. The settlers, they live 10 meters away from me here. They are under the Israeli civil law with full rights. So the same area, 2 sets of law for different people. What is that? It's apartheid.
Yeah.
This is what the Americans used to have. The Americans should understand what I'm talking about. When you have two sets of law in the same area for different color of people, for different people, it's racism and apartheid. This is what Americans proud to say, that we had a civil rights movement led by Martin Luther King to make a change, and they did manage to make to make it costly till the white recognized the black people's rights, and now the states, it's the country of freedom and equality and justice. We say that there are problems still, but the laws sees everybody equal.
Yeah.
Here it's not.
Yeah. So Issa, I think everyone on this call knows and agrees with you. We know this is apartheid. It's very clear. It's obvious. I think I can speak for all of us on the call that we are appalled at the treatment that you have received. It's absolutely horrific. I'm so sorry for what they've done to you. It's horrendous. And at the same time, I think we all applaud you for your continual resistance, because as you say, you're not just the victim. You have mobilized other people to resist the occupation. So we applaud you for that. I want to alert the audience that just be thinking about your questions. I have one or two more questions for Issa, and then we'll open it up to your questions, which we'll have you put in the chat. But before you do that, Issa, you've talked about the disconnect, and there's no contiguity of land between Gaza and the West Bank. How are the Palestinians in the West Bank reacting to what's going on in Gaza?
In the beginning of the war, Palestinians were protesting peacefully in the streets. Israel killed many Palestinian peaceful protesters, arrested others, threatened other people. So people in the West Bank, they are now, from time to time, they protest, they collect some kind of support to Gaza. They try to mobilize for abroad to support. But we are under severe pressure from the Israeli occupation not to show any support to Gaza. I know many Palestinians in 48 lost their jobs for writing stop the war, ceasefire, something like that. So there is a kind of emergency law that they don't allow us to do anything in the West Bank, but in the same time, the people in Hebron especially, because we hear the bombing from Hebron. We see the jets and the helicopters. We see them from Hebron bombing Gaza. And people are crying here. The people are really in a very bad situation. In one hand, they're afraid of settler violence and army brutality and the house raid of the Israeli soldiers all over the West Bank, and especially in Hebron. On the other hand, we see our brothers and sisters in Gaza dying, starving, no medical aid, being genocide, being evicted, and being with all suffering with the double standards of the international community, not being able to stop Israel from what they do to Palestinian women and Palestinian children and Palestinian elders in Gaza, and especially attacking the education, schools and universities, attacking the health, attacking hospitals, medical clinics, and attacking fuel, attacking anybody there. So people, we are with double pain. We are, it's so painful to see what's going on in Gaza. At the same time, it's very painful to live in the West Bank under this brutal occupation, under this violence, under this equality, and at the same time, you are accused for being terrorist. This is really, double standards, but we never lose hope. We see many people, and your support, your lectures make huge difference for us. You give us hope, and we feel more protected with your support and your solidarity. So thank you very much. This is something very important, not only from me. When I walk in the street, I hear people saying, Issa, we see people in the United States, in the universities, in the schools, in the streets, on social media. We are not alone. We have many, many supporters. So we will win at the end. So these solidarity campaigns all over the world give us hope, give us protection, give us energy to continue to fight and make the occupation costly, and for sure using nonviolence resistance.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Issa. Okay, so I'm gonna bring on Julie. Issa, we're gonna give you some of the questions from the audience, okay? Julie's gonna help. Julie, meet Issa. Issa, this is Julie. I asked you to unmute. I think you can, there you go. So we have a number of questions in the chat. Julie, you want to start? You have to scroll up to the top there.
Yeah. If you see one, if you could start and then I'll follow. Oh, no, actually I do have one.
Go ahead.
So how is it that American Jews get away with the settler violence? And how can we as Americans hold these American Jews accountable for these crimes?
First of all, we are very proud of many, many American Jews who support us and who are part of our anti-apartheid, anti-occupation movement. I think the majority of the American Jews support Palestinian rights, and they are against the occupation and against apartheid. The Israeli Jews who are supporting the occupation or who are making Palestinian suffering, we should find their names and make them accountable under the American system. We should find a way to find a way to the Israelis who have double citizenship within it, American and Israelis, to find a legal way to make them accountable for their violence and for their support of violence. Something else very important is to stop the funding which is coming from the United States to many Israeli groups who are very violent. It's really important to do that. For example, Hebron Fund is the main organization, 5C103 in the United States in New York, which is supporting Hebron settlers. So it's really important to go after their funding, to go after their political support, and to go legally to find a way to sue them and make them accountable for what they do in the West Bank or in Israel's violation of human rights.
That's interesting. Something for us to think about. I don't know how we're going to do that, but if we could sue them, I think we'd be eager to do that. There's a question here, Issa, which is, so Hiroaki is asking a question. I don't think it's possible these days to facilitate a meeting between youth in the West Bank and Gaza, because Gaza is under attack right now. But in the past, Issa, have you brought the youth together from both of those to talk about their views for a vision or blueprints for a united Palestinian state?
We are one nation. We don't see Gaza is different from Hebron or from East Jerusalem. Palestinians, they are one people all over the world. We have the same culture, the same traditions, and we are proud of our diversity. And something very important, we don't want to be treated as animals who are seeking shelter and food. We want to be treated as a nation who are seeking justice, equality, and freedom and self-determination. This is what we want as Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. We worked a lot with Gaza during the right of return marches, the peaceful, non-violent marches in Gaza, which was really violent, which got violent reaction from the Israeli military, and many of the protesters were killed in the borders of Gaza, who were calling to end the siege of Gaza. So we talked many times. We talk until now. We do media together. There are many non-violent groups in Gaza, and they are now helping their community in Gaza during the war and the genocide. But unfortunately, the occupation is making it very difficult for the people in Gaza to communicate, because they don't have enough electricity, they don't have enough internet. And at the same time, with us here, any communication with Gaza, they go after us and they arrest any activist who tries to communicate with Gaza.
Wow. Can they tell when you've tried to? Can they tell when you've tried to? Yes.
They spy on our internet, so they know now what I'm saying.
Yeah. Julie, do you have one?
Yes, Issa, there is a question. Have you ever been able to incite the humanity in an attacker? Have you ever found an IDF soldier, IOF soldier, or settler who was tempted to see your humanity? And if so, how did you pull off that miracle?
To be very honest, we are treated as human animals. And many Israeli leaders described us as human animals here. So they see us as human animals. They no way to recognize us as human beings. So they don't listen to us at all. In the same time, we have few groups in Israel, as B'Tselem, as Breaking the Silence, as Yesh Din, as a few other groups who are really trying to bring Israelis to listen to Palestinians. But unfortunately, the Israeli society is moving toward fascism. This is not my opinion. It's not only my opinion. It's the opinion of Yair Golan, the deputy head, the former deputy head of the Israeli military. He described that in 2016. He said that I see fascism among our society. It was 2016. Imagine about 2024, 2023. So the Israeli society is moving to the right, moving toward fascism, and they see Palestinians as human animals. They don't see us as a human being. And I hope that they see us as a human being, and we will be able to really tell them, let's be equal and have the same rights in the same place. But they don't want that.
Issa, there's a question here that this person saw at least one Israeli government official openly called the current efforts as the second Nakba. And I had actually seen that. Have you heard that? Do you know anything about that?
Yes, one soldier even, wrote graffiti in Gaza, 2023 Nakba. And they know that. And they are proud of that. They are proud of evicting the Palestinians and expelling them from Gaza to Egypt and from West Bank to Jordan. This is what they do. They don't evict us in the West Bank physically, but in spite that you mentioned 1,500 people were dismissed, evicted from their homes in Area C, but the number is much larger than that. They don't evict you directly in the West Bank, but they make it impossible for you to stay. No jobs, no safety, no social life, and no services. For sure, people will leave. And this is now in Gaza. No food too. No, you add to that, there is no food in Gaza, and they want the Gazans to go to Egypt or go somewhere else. So they want Israel from the river to the sea. This is why they got angry when they hear Palestine will be free from the river to the sea, because now the fact is that Israel is an apartheid state from the river to the sea. This is the situation in Palestine now and Israel.
Do you know that it turned out that the people who started using that term were in the Likud government? They're the people who started using that term, from the river to the sea, as I understand it.
Yes. They say it every day. From the river to the sea, free Israel. They want us out. They want us out. This is something very important. And without any real critical condemnation from the United States officials.
Yep.
You don't hear any real media coverage even for the settler crazy violence, or for the Israeli politicians' incitement against Palestinians. Violent, they are violent leaders. They are violent leaders. They believe in violence.
Yeah. Julie?
As we say here at protests and talking about the US government, shame. Shame. We have a lot of shame. And the question here is, how many US or UK soldiers or paramilitary are present in the occupied West Bank?
I see many Israeli soldiers who are Americans, and I see many of them are British. About real American Marines or troops in the ground, I think, I don't know, but I think they are there. This is what I think, but I don't know. I can't tell. A few rumors that they exist on the ground and they fight with the Israeli military, but at least the blind support from UK and from USA to the Israeli military is so strong. And and it's very important to know that the United States and United Kingdom and many other countries, they are part of the war on the Palestinians. They are part of the genocide happening in Gaza, and they are part of what is happening in the West Bank for supporting financially, politically, and selling them weapons, or even participating on the ground with maybe sharing information, with logistics, or with weapons, or with troops on the ground. We are unfortunately suffering from a global attack on us. It's global. It's not only Israel. It's not only Israel, unfortunately. And if they really want to end the occupation, it's easy to do it. Israel depends a lot on the American aid, the American support, and the American protection, the British protection, the British backup of Israel. So if these countries tell Israel, we want peace between Palestinians and Israelis, we want the Palestinians and the Israelis to live together without suffering and without violence and without occupation, I don't think Israel will be able to say no to these countries.
Issa, I imagine you know of the group called Standing Together?
Yes, I know them.
Yeah, so this person is asking, do you know them and have they contacted you?
Yes, I know them. They've been in Hebron many times, and they do a great activities and actions. And every group who are making the occupation costly and trying to expose Israeli apartheid, they are welcome to be part of our non-violence movement against the occupation and apartheid. And they do good work. Thanks to Stand Together, and thanks to everybody who is writing about Palestine, who's writing about occupation, who's saying anything about occupation, who is showing any solidarity, because it's very, very important. Standing Together and many other groups from here and even in the United States, many groups are doing amazing work to protect me in my house first, Issa, and to protect every human being in Area C, and to try not to make Israel use nuclear weapons against the Gazans, or to really massively kill many Gazan children and women.
Yeah.
In general, Issa, what is happening with the peace movement in Israel?
There is no peace movement in Israel.
None.
No. And we are not talking about peace, Julie. We are talking now about resistance. We should resist the occupation peacefully to make peace possible. You understand me? We can't make peace during the war. We can't make peace during the occupation. We can work together in a movement, Israelis, Palestinians, Jews, Muslims, Christians, secular, atheists, all over the world. We can work together in a movement to force Israel to accept peace. Because it's not the Palestinians who are refusing peace, it's Israel. It's not the Palestinians. What they can do, remove Hamas and throw them to the sea. Will Palestinians have peace? Throw Issa to the sea. Will Palestinians have peace? Give me one element to do what Palestinians can do to achieve peace. Resist the occupation. This is the only way. Nothing else. To make the occupation costly. And we are using non-violence resistance to make the occupation costly. I'm very proud of my non-violence resistance and everybody's non-violence resistance, because it's impactful and it will make a change, and it really decrease the gap between the Palestinians and the Israelis, and anybody who's trying to support Israel to be from the river to the sea, even to the river, to the Iraqi river. This is what Smotrich think. It's to Iraq, not only to the here, you know. They see Israel more than Palestine. It's Palestine, Jordan, parts of Syria, parts of Iraq, and parts of Egypt. This is the biblical map. Smotrich, the Israeli finance minister, and a minister in the Israeli defense ministry, showed in his speech in France 1 year ago. It's not a crazy settler did it. A minister, an official, very strong official in the Israeli current government.
Yep. Issa, how can we best support you? And I did see this link you had of Friends of Hebron as an organization. How can we, the people on the call, best support you?
First, be creative and make fighting the occupation part of your daily routine. And be optimistic. Be united. it is something very important. We should be all united behind one goal, to end occupation and apartheid. Then after we end apartheid and occupation, we can have different political stands, one state, two states, whatever we see, okay? But we should be all now united behind making the occupation and apartheid costly. On the other hand, you know, we want to see your solidarity, something very important, because it gives Palestinian hope. It gives Palestinians protection. Media, try to see media does real work, expose the truth. It's okay. We want that. And make your politicians accountable. And something else very, very important, it's like that. Israelis are here, Palestinians are here. The gap and the imbalance is so big. Try to level up Palestinians. Level up Palestinians. Think about, how can I level up Palestinian voices, Palestinian education, Palestinian economy, Palestinian women, Palestinian sports, Palestinian economy. This is, and have engagement and exchange with the Palestinian people. So we will make a character for the Palestinians. Not we see Palestinians as numbers. We are not numbers. We are human beings with names and with traditions, with hopes, with dreams. We're real human beings. We want to be treated as a nation. This is really important. Be in touch. Let's share ideas. Let's work together. Let's be one big family together. And for sure, we are happy to have your financial support, your donation, to be able to continue on the ground here. But thank you deeply from my heart for what you do to make the occupation costly and make the apartheid costly, because you do amazing work. And without you, we would not exist on the ground in a grassroots level. We promise you will not give up, and promise us to stay firm in your solidarity and in your support for the Palestinian cause.
We promise you, Issa.
Thank you.
Julie?
There's a question here about American politics, and I don't know if you have any guidance for us on this, but the question is, do you advise nonviolent Americans to vote
Gosh.
for Biden as a lesser of two evils?
I don't
Or-
think that's a question for him, Julie.
Yeah, I don't know if,
Well, go ahead and ask, but Issa, you can say, yeah.
yeah.
Again, what is the question? I didn't hear
The
it well.
question is about the election, the American election coming up. And it's, I think,
Unfortunately, Biden didn't reverse anything of what Trump did. So foreign policy is almost the same, and it can be changed by our votes and our activities and our movement in the United States, which is growing. So really, I can't say to my American friends whom to vote, Trump or Biden or anybody else, but I tell them I didn't feel any difference of the American foreign ministry, foreign policies overseas here.
Yeah.
Biden is so bad, to be very honest. His policies are so bad. I can say that few people in the State Department are doing well with this current administration, but in general, really, we suffered a lot from the blind support to the occupation, and we can reverse that by our actions, by our movement, by our work in the United States and in Palestine.
thank you.
Mhm. Issa, can you talk briefly about conditions at the Palestinian Polytechnic University in Hebron?
About what I did, 2003, you mean?
I
Or
don't
the
know,
Palestinian Authority?
someone's asking about the conditions at the Palestinian Polytechnic University.
Who is he?
Haynes? Haynes, are
Can
you?
you, can he, can he,
I'm wondering about current conditions, post-October 7th conditions at PPU.
about PPU?
Yeah.
What conditions again?
Well,
Do you want to come to teach?
Is it closed? What are
No,
the?
no. I tell you about education now. In the West Bank, the majority of the schools are closed and universities are closed in the West Bank, and it's online because the students are not able to reach. For Palestinian schools, secondary schools and elementary schools, teachers are not paid, so there is 1 or 2 days per week that the students go to school. Universities, the majority of the universities are online because the students can't reach and the teachers can't reach, and Palestine Polytechnic is one of them.
Julie, hold on a second. I want to ask Cole. Cole, do you have an action for us?
Oh, yes. Let me bring that up.
Should I ask a question while you're doing? Oh, yeah.
So we're calling on the government to reverse this defunding of UNRWA. This is one of the most disgraceful actions of the Congress and the Biden administration, that they have cut off the funding for UNRWA. So I will put that in the chat. Here we go. So please fill that out.
Thank you. Julie, I think it's your turn. Go ahead.
Did you have a question?
So again, they're asking if you are detained again, what's the most effective way for us to advocate for you? But I don't know how we would know that you had been detained.
If I am detained, it will be on social media. And many friends of mine, they usually organize campaigns to release me. And many American friends, they contact the State Department directly to intervene.
If we were, which are there social media organizations that we should connect with so that we would get those kind of notices?
The organization Friends of Hebron, which is an American 5C103, it's one of the main supporter of me and here and our activities. You will see updates from them on Twitter or on Instagram, and even you can send donation through Friends of Hebron.
Yeah, I'm going to write that in the chat. So we can all follow them, and also, as Issa said, we could contribute to them, which would be a great thing. Julie, you got one?
Yeah, I do. There's a question about there are past members of the IDF who are actively protesting the IDF's role in the apartheid state. And Issa, might it be possible to incite current IDF members who are suffering moral hazard to speak out?
Yes, Breaking the Silence. It's an amazing Israeli human rights organization. It was established 2004, 2005 to collect testimonies from the Israeli ex-soldiers about their service, and they do a lot of advocacy and tours and awareness about the occupation and about apartheid. So follow Breaking the Silence too. Breaking the Silence. It's amazing Israeli human rights organization.
I don't see another question. Do you, Julie?
Been scrolling through here. A lot of appreciation, Issa, for your work, and just statements of
I know I have two questions. I put them in the chat too.
Yeah, Jeffrey, I see them. I think we'll take them from the chat.
A statement of Palestinians are our life right now, Issa. We are all Palestinians.
Thank you very much. We feel that. We feel your emotions, and really, me personally, I'm really thankful, and I feel energized by your feelings. Really, really, it makes difference. Thank you very much. We are one family.
We are so grateful for you for taking the time to join us. Thank you so much, Issa. It's been very educational.
Wait, aren't you going to ask him my two questions before he goes?
I don't see anything there.
Can I answer them since you can't see them? Ask him.
I see your question about that's not an appropriate question, Jeffrey. It's just not an appropriate question. Cole, can you deal with that, please? So again, Issa, thank you so much. It's been wonderful seeing you and hearing from you. We applaud all the work you're doing. We promise to stay engaged and to continue in this work. We are not going away, Issa.
Thank you very much. And I really hope to see you all in free Palestine. And I'm very proud of being a human rights defender. And I'm very proud of you being a human rights defender and supporter of justice, equality, and freedom for all.
Shukran.
Have fun. All the best.
Issa, I want you to see people thanking you. So all of you, I'm just going to remove the spotlight from all of us so that you can show. Could you show, Issa, turn on your cameras, please? And show your appreciation, whether you are clapping or just whatever you can do to thank Issa for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Issa. Thanks everyone for joining us. Be well. Bye.
Yalla.